Camera's pointing too far down. I started filming stuff, I started doing stuff. Guess what? The camera's on slow-mo. It doesn't film the audio on slow-mo. But we're gonna start where we left off last time, and that's over here. I ordered all our vertical plates from Send Cut Send. Then I put those on our two rods that run the length of the wing. And then all the airfoils are just 3D printed. That's the gist of it. Whoa, I can't believe you just got to watch that cool slow-mo montage. Dang, that's how it's supposed to look, man. That looks sharp. That's pretty sick. I like it. The thing I want to try and fix first is the bump steer. That's going to be like one of our biggest issues, trying to like get the power to the ground in this thing, like handling through turns. If it bumps, you can't really control the car. And by bump steer, this is what I mean. When the suspension goes up and down, you can see that the wheel is going to tip inwards and outwards. One of the two ways. Now we do run the cart fairly stiff, so it's not going to see that much motion, but I'd still like to eliminate it. So you get that bump steer motion when the suspension moves through its range of travel, and the control arms are different length than the steering rod arm. So when it comes up, and the steering rod arm is longer than the control arms, then it's going to want to push the tire outwards. I never really did like the steering setup with this, so we're going to try and do something about it. This is another Amazon steering rack that I acquired. The problem is finding a steering rack that's tough enough that has a center pinion that isn't like $1,000. But if I can extend this piece out, like by welding a bolt on a piece of rod or something and making, an extension piece and move these out as far as the suspension is, then we should be in the ballpark. Hear me out. Might be stupid, but I'm gonna try and build some rack spacers because we need this rack to be, 17 inches long. The rack itself, around 22 millimeters. The best thing I could find for like steel stock, 1-inch bolt. So I'm gonna try and use the lathe, turn down this bolt and see what we can do. You know what, that was a pretty silly idea for a guy with a mini lathe. I should have just gotten a bolt that was like all shoulder instead of threads and then trying to turn it down. That was kind of silly. We're gonna revisit this in the morning with like being a little bit smarter next time. Maybe this will be, a little bit easier. Now, despite how handy this mini lathe has been, it's also been quite, unhandy. I keep taking on projects that require, a little bit bigger lathe than what I own, and then it's taking me twice or 3 or 4 or 7 times longer than it's supposed to take to do something like this. What I end up doing is just boring it down on both sides. One side matches the rack threads, which is M12 by 125. The other side just going to be 3/8, so I can put my Heim joint on the other side. And let me tell you something, my little plastic gears inside my mini lathe, not happy. All right, there's our extended steering rack. It is going to go down lower than it did before, so we are going to have to make some bracing for this one. I did take out the bar that was across here for the old steering rack that sat high, and we're going to put it down here lower and hopefully get a better steering angle for these rods. Gonna bust out our arc droid to cut us out a plate. I got it temporarily situated over here. Good enough. Just a quick little plate that we can put in here and weld down to that bar. I'm not sure why I insist on TIG welding everything. I own a MIG welder. I just don't really know how to use it, and then TIG welding looks better in the end anyways. Now you can see that our pickup point for our steering is almost where the pickup point for our suspension is, so that should help reduce a lot of the bump steer. You do have to change this U-joint out because the splines right here on the steering shaft are a little bit different than the old one. So we'll cut that out, make an extension piece, probably put some sort of support in this thing as well, and that piece should be done. Now clearly, I don't know how to use a lathe. So turning down this 1-inch piece of metal to not a piece of 1-inch metal, it took me about an hour, but we made a part. And honestly, that's what this project's all about. Just figuring it out. If I have to make my own part, I'm gonna try and figure out how to make my own part. If I fail doing it, I fail doing it. Took me about an hour on my mini lathe, but we ended up with something that looks kind of like this. Just gonna go into this one here. And that one there. And then we just gotta weld these two together. I didn't have anything that would go from, because this one's a weld-on one and this one's a spline one, so I'm just gonna weld both these U-joints together. Then it is what it is. Now we've got to shorten our steering rods by about 2 inches. So we're gonna cut a piece off, put this in the lathe so we can reuse our little Heim joint piece, re-weld that back in, and then we've got a little shorter steering rod. I do realize that I've overbuilt a lot of this and it's a lot heavier than it needs to be, but we're just gonna finish this one off so we can start a new one. Honestly, there's so much on this cart that I want to redo, and it's to the point where almost starting a new one would be better, but we're gonna finish this one out. For example, if we want to look at my formula car versus a different formula car, you'll see some clear differences. First of all, my steering rack is located on the inside of my control arms, which is probably a downfall from running the Miata knuckles. And if there was one thing on this cart that I really would want to change completely different, would be the whole front suspension setup. With that being said, if you just put a side by side with this photo, now if you look at this one, you can see that the steering rack is in front of the control arms. And if you look closer at it, you'll notice that the steering rod and the control arm are actually on the same plane as well. And I'm gonna guess it's for aerodynamic purposes, having the steering rod in front of the control arm. It just makes one passage the air has to go over. But also, it probably doesn't have any bump steer. So like I said, if I could redesign everything, I would. Bump steer test. The steering isn't welded up yet, but we're just gonna see how far the wheel moves. Okay, it's still... It's still got a little bit of bump steer, but it's not nearly as bad as it was before. It's been a while since I sat in this thing. We have steering again, but the rack is a little bit not as good as the last one. Turning radius, not a lot. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm sure we're gonna change it again eventually. Oh, my triceps. I did the gym yesterday. Oh. It's terrible. We did add a 3/4 inch Heim joint to our steering system just to stiffen it up a little bit because it is such a long travel from these bearings up here.
What you making, Kyle?
All right, so this is our 3D printed start of the body. This is the nose cone piece. With this piece specifically, we're actually going to assemble it, fiberglass over it, and then use this as some sort of like structure for it, just help with the flex of the front nose cone. They are numbered, so when you print them, you can number them. However, I don't know which numbers go where. But
I mean, it's...
here's the tip. See what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
We are gonna have to cut holes in the bottom of these ones. Did that crack? It did.
You just broke it?
I do have my hired assistant for free.
Oh. I was like, hired, I'm getting paid? And then you said for free.
You guys are getting paid.
You guys are getting paid? Okay.
And Gia's gonna help me weld this up the same way that we welded up the hot dog, basically. Mm-hmm. You guys haven't seen the hot dog video? Hot dog video. Chi-Chi.
Dab me up.
Dab me up. It's not hot enough yet. But all we're using is a little soldering iron thing with the spade on it, and you just kind of like weld it. You just weld it.
Was that the motion? Are you making the motion right now?
Yep.
It's so subtle, I could barely tell.
That's where you get perfect welds. Now, huge shout out to this man's right here. He's been helping me build the body because it's a little bit out of my skill set. It would have just taken me so much longer to figure out all this CAD work by myself. And not only did he help design the entire body, he's been helping me problem solve about how we're going to mold the pieces, on how we're going to split the pieces, and what parts go where. And he's just been above and beyond anything I could have asked for. So if you guys do want to help out, I do have a Discord. It's in the link down below. And this is PETG, so it should handle like atmospheric temperatures. I liked going to Applebee's. So we've got the front piece, we've got the bottom piece and the top piece. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna assemble this piece onto that piece and then put those two pieces together. Vanna White.
I was just copying what you were doing with your hands.
I talk with my hands. I'm not a face kind of guy. Now there is a little bit of flex to the pieces, so having Gina around to lend me a hand actually helped a lot because it'd be very difficult just to do by myself. So I kind of rearranged the pieces and then she would tack weld them together. It's starting to look like a thing though.
It is starting to look like a thing. It's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Now unfortunately, piece number 11, I didn't realize it was as bad as it was, but I ran out of filament and then I put new filament in it and it was just a little bit kind of janky. So I'm just gonna reprint this piece. It's a 5-hour print, so that'll print. We'll come back out here and we'll finish it after that. Blow on it harder. Now what? We put it together?
Put it together.
Dang, that's a nose cone.
Should we just put it like this?
Probably. She.
Dang.
That looks cool.
Right there somewhere, like that. Shit, look at it.
Just look at it. It looks cool. What color do you think you're gonna make everything?
I don't know. They should be fairly easy to make a mount for too, actually. I think. I say that now and I'm like, how am I gonna make a mount? Honestly, I think it's gonna be pretty perfect right there. Oh yeah, it's totally gonna be a thing.
Totally a thing.
So we will have to cut out the bottom of this piece for the wing to go underneath it, but wow, it's gonna make it look completely different.
And we'll just look like a frame on wheels?
It just won't look like a frame on wheels anymore. So
completely different.
So we have the nose cone, we have to fiberglass that. We are starting to print the mold for this section from here to, you know, about where the dash is right here. And then we'll do like an upper half and a lower half, and then they'll like seam over each other. Still trying to work out as we're designing it, how to like place the panels and how they're gonna overlap and you won't get air between them and stuff. So it is a little bit of a process for us, but we're figuring it out slowly. So we just have to fiberglass our front nose cone now. We're gonna start printing the next pieces of the body, and then it's full steam ahead on the cart for the winter. So hopefully have all the body done before we gotta take it out again. It's finally starting to look like a thing with a nose cone on it now. So it's finally making me want to like push a little bit harder, get the body done, and make it look like what I intended it to look like the whole time. So see you guys on the next one. Peace easy. Get that V.